I'm Ted Meyer in Los Angeles, California.
I'm Shelly Propson Tyshka in Rochester, Michigan.
Let's start out. Tell us where you are and a little bit about the artwork behind you.
Okay, well, right now I am in an art studio called Paint a Miracle. It's for children and adults living with disabilities. And it was inspired by my father, Dr. Dale Propson, and his artwork is the artwork that is behind me right now. He was a very successful pediatric dentist. And when he was 39 years old, he was hit by a drunk driver and suffered a massive brain injury. So he lost most of his eyesight, most of his senses, and most of his frontal lobe. So he had to relearn how to do everything, how to walk, how to talk, even the number of children that he had in his family. And it was years and years and years of recovery. After unsuccessful hobby and years of therapy and days with nothing left to do, he discovered art. The visual arts changed his life.
So did he just come across it, or did someone suggest maybe this would be good for physical therapy and dexterity?
Well, my mom had been spending years trying to find hobbies for him, and it was hard because of his eyesight limitations. And so he would have aides that would come and pick him up and take him for outings, grocery shopping, that sort of thing. And one of the aides took him one day to an art studio just north of here, and the owner of the studio came out to the street and coaxed my dad into the building. She had a very rare blood disease, and so she knew what it was like to go through suffering. And my dad wouldn't get out of the car, and so Helen came to the car, and my dad said, "I'm not going in there. I can't see, I can't paint." And Helen said to my dad, "Dale, you don't need your eyes to paint. The image goes from your brain to your heart to your hand." His first painting was very rudimentary. It was a grouping of what he called balloons, but really they were just circles. And you can see sometimes as his painting developed, he continued to have this theme of circles, but he started painting flowers and really enjoyed abstract art. And so he started to exhibit and sell his work, and he became part of a community of artists. And so he developed friendships. And so it was not set out to be therapy, but it really became very therapeutic for him because his ability to concentrate improved, his ability to read improved, his mood improved. He had a reason to get up in the morning. And my mom just felt that there was a dramatic improvement in his quality of life.
What was he actually able to see?
He had no eyesight in his left eye, and he had 3/4 quadrants missing. So he could see blurry in this upper quarter quadrant. And at the time he started painting, he was classified as legally blind. Somehow over the course of creating art, he was elevated to sight impaired.
There's sort of two different stories here. There's him and sort of the elasticity of his brain once he started painting, that he developed new friends. He probably had completely different kinds of conversations with his artist friends than he would with his dentist friends, you know.
Yeah.
But then there's also your story of having, how old were you? Were probably pretty young when he became disabled, and you had to deal with a whole new interaction with your parent.
Yes, I was 15. My 14-year-old brother was in the car with my dad. He also suffered a brain injury, but made a full recovery. It was devastating for all of us because he had been very, very involved in our lives. He was a vibrant, charismatic individual who was always out there in the community making things happen. He was a connector. And then also, I think what people don't think about is the amount of time that my mom then was spending at the hospital advocating for my father was time that she couldn't be with us at home. And so that for her was a full-time job.
So how was it for you? Like you went from having this professional dad to artist dad, but also probably for a while you couldn't really communicate very well.
I felt like a death, but it was a death that you really couldn't grieve because you still had your father. So we were still all very grateful to have him. At the same time, he wasn't the same father. I mean, he wasn't able to be there to support us in the same way or to fight for us in the same way. He went from, having a sky high IQ to a very low IQ. And yet he had this wonderful sense of humor. He would interact with us. He would always ask me how I was doing. How are my children? One of the things I noticed when he died, and I was blessed to be able to be at his bedside when he died, was that I felt that I was finally able to grieve the dad that I had lost when I was 15, because somehow it felt dishonoring him to grieve that loss when he was still alive, because he fought so hard to live and to live a good life and to still manage to help people in the midst of all of his own suffering and pain. And it was healing to be there when he died.
So let's talk a little bit about his legacy and what he's left behind as a result of this terrible car accident. You've got the art studio. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? How many people come every day or every week for classes? How many people has that car accident landed up helping along the way?
Wow, my dad's car accident has ended up helping, I would say, well over 1,000 people at this point. I mean, we started Paint a Miracle in 2002, and it was my dad's idea to start this art studio. He realized the benefit that he had gotten, and he looked at my mom one day and he said, "Annie, I want to start an art studio for people like me because I want other people to benefit like I have." We started the program with about 4 people at a local community house, and now we've got to serve probably around 500 people a year. We have a core group that come to classes every week, probably about 65 to 70. Our classes are really focused on the individual who has the particular challenge that might keep them from going to a traditional art center. And so maybe it's a traumatic brain injury, maybe it's autism, maybe it's ALS or Parkinson's, or someone who suffered a stroke. And so really the classes are focused on meeting the needs of each particular individual.
So your parents' marriage must have changed a lot. I'm envisioning, your dad went to work, your mom did her thing, and then all of a sudden they became more of a team, I'm assuming, to take care of him and get this going.
She was a stay-at-home mom at the time of my dad's car accident because she had 4 young children. She always envisioned that she'd go back to teaching after we were in school. That did not happen due to my dad's car accident. She became a full-time caregiver, and my dad's injury was to the extent that you could not leave him alone. He had so many cognitive deficits that he needed full-time care. The fact that he even had an original thought to start an art studio was pretty remarkable, because that wasn't the level of thinking that he typically had. I mean, every once in a while you'd get a glimpse of my dad, or you have a conversation with him and you would say, "Oh, there he is." And then other times he was the dad we experienced post accident, who was sweet and kind, but very much, had a lot of ruminative thoughts. I mean, a lot of, he'd perseverate on things a lot, ask the same question over and over and over again. And so my mom was really his caregiver for that whole period of time. And so this was done as a team, in the sense that my dad came here and created art at Paint a Miracle and really interacted and inspired the other fellow artists around him. And then the rest of us did the legwork to make it happen.
It's sort of amazing that with all his cognitive challenges, the fact that he's still thinking about other people.
That was part of who he was before his car accident, and still who he was after his car accident. And I think for all of us, I mean, really the biggest legacy that he leaves for the people at this art studio, or for his family and all of his grandchildren, is that when you have something tragic happen to you, when you have something that just cuts you down, literally, that you can still bring good out of it, that you can still learn new things about yourself and still, I guess, gain new abilities and really gain a new vocation is what he did, from dentist to artist. And he would exhibit and sell his work. People started collecting his work. And to this day, I mean, that's one of our biggest goals here, is we get our artist work out into the community and we sell it, because everyone has a story to tell through their art.
It's kind of an amazing story. All the good that came out of something so horrible. It's a wonderful legacy. Well, thank you so much for talking to me and telling me about your dad and the art.
Thank you so much, Ted. I really appreciate having the time to share his story.